The Golden State Warriors finally stepped on a court for their first preseason matchup. And even though it's just the preseason, what we saw was enough to spark some genuine excitement among the fan base. Now look, we all know that preseason games don't usually tell the whole story. Rosters aren't complete, rotations are experimental, and stars are often sitting out or playing limited minutes. That was the case again last night. The Lakers, for example, didn't play LeBron James, Marcus Smart, or Luka Doncic, and the Warriors were missing pieces like Seth Curry and DeAnthony Melton. But even with the incomplete rosters, you could feel something different in the air. A kind of energy, a sense of urgency that doesn't typically show up this early. What immediately stood out was the pace. The Warriors came out running, and not in a careless, chaotic way. It was intentional, crisp, purposeful. And that's especially surprising when you remember that this team is one of the oldest in the entire league. Their starting lineup? Averaging 34 years old. That's a full 5 years older than the next oldest starting unit in the NBA. But instead of showing their age, the Warriors played like a team that still got gas in the tank, and not just fumes either. They were pushing the ball up the floor off every possession, attacking early, and setting the tone from the opening tip. You'd think a veteran squad might coast through the preseason, especially in Game 1. But this wasn't a team just stretching its legs. This looked like a group sending a message. Jimmy, especially, was playing like it was May, not October. Every time the Lakers scored, he was grabbing the ball, getting it inbounds immediately, and sprinting up court to catch the defense off guard. That kind of mindset, yes, you could call it overzealous for preseason, but it's the exact kind of mentality that separates pretenders from contenders when the real games start. It sends a signal, not just to the fans, but to everyone in the locker room. This season, we're not waiting until January to flip the switch. And that's key, because last season, everyone on that roster admitted it. After January, they were in playoff mode every single night just to stay afloat. And that's not a formula you want to repeat. You don't want to be grinding your veterans into the ground before April even arrives. So the goal now? Get out to a fast start. Create momentum early. Let the young guys know what's expected, and make sure that even the fringe players, those fighting for a spot in the rotation, understand the level of effort it takes to wear this jersey. Now that brings us to one of the most interesting dynamics this preseason, the internal competition. There are players with guaranteed contracts who, quite frankly, didn't show enough. Guys who kept up with the tempo, sure, but didn't bring anything that screamed, "I deserve minutes." And then there are players like Pat Spencer. This guy was all over the floor. He might not look like your typical NBA guard. With that mustache, he looks more like he belongs on the pitcher's mound at Yankee Stadium. But don't let that fool you. He played with heart, with energy, and with a real sense of purpose. You could tell he wasn't just out there to fill space. He was trying to earn a spot. And when you're competing for a final roster position, that matters more than any flashy stat line. Buddy Hield, on the other hand, left some questions on the table. Yes, he had his moments and got some decent looks. But when you're a veteran with a guaranteed spot and you're being outworked by a guy in a non-guaranteed deal, that's a problem. That creates tension. That forces the front office to make hard decisions. Because if you're the coaching staff and you're watching Pat hustle, dive for loose balls, and make smart plays while Hield floats through possessions, what are you supposed to do? Just stick with the name value? Or go with the guy who's clearly hungrier? And the coaching staff has to think beyond just the next few weeks. This isn't about preseason wins. It's about setting the tone for the kind of season you want to have. And a lot of that starts with rewarding effort and accountability. Players like Jimmy, Draymond, and Steph were out there showing exactly that. They weren't pacing themselves. They were active, aggressive, and fully engaged. Draymond, maybe a little too engaged at times, was taking shots he probably shouldn't have, especially from deep. At this stage in his career, his value comes from distributing the ball, rebounding, and leading the defense, not chucking up threes. But even that speaks to the level of intensity these guys are bringing. They're not easing into the season. They're sprinting into it. Jonathan Kuminga had a few solid moments, but honestly, he didn't show much improvement from what we last saw in May. And that's a little concerning. This was supposed to be a big step-up year for him. This is the time to make that leap, especially with so many veterans on the roster and opportunities potentially opening up. You want to see growth, confidence, and polish. And while he wasn't bad, he didn't look like a guy who's ready to take over a second unit or close games in the playoffs. One thing that was extremely encouraging, though, the ball movement. The way the Warriors shared the ball last night was straight out of their dynasty playbook. We're talking double-digit passes on some possessions before even considering a shot. At one point, I counted 11 passes before a single attempt. The kind of patience and selflessness puts defenses on their heels, and when you've got smart shooters spotting up, that leads to wide-open looks from beyond the arc. It's the kind of play that wears teams down, especially in a league where defensive effort in the regular season is already inconsistent. The Warriors know how to make you chase, and when you're chasing for 4 quarters, you break down eventually. That's exactly what happened against the Lakers. The game was close, back and forth for a bit, then boom, the Warriors rattled off a 12-point swing in just under 2 minutes. That's vintage Golden State basketball. Quick, surgical runs that feel like a blur. You look up at the scoreboard, and all of a sudden you're down 15. That's what made them so dangerous during their title years. And if they can recapture even a piece of that rhythm this season, they're going to be tough to beat, especially for younger, less disciplined squads. But of course, even with all the positives, there's still one massive red flag. And it's not new. It's something we've been talking about all offseason. Size, or rather the lack of it. This team is thin in the frontcourt. And last night, that weakness was exposed again. The Lakers didn't even have their full rotation, but DeAndre Ayton and Jackson Hayes had no problem asserting themselves in the paint. They controlled the glass, bullied their way into second-chance opportunities, and made every rebound a struggle for the Warriors. Al Horford, bless him, showed once again why he's still valuable at 39. He moved the ball, played smart, held his ground when he could, but he's still only 6'10". And against true 7-footers, that disadvantage adds up quickly. Quentin Post was the lone true 7-footer on the Warriors roster last night, and while he had some bright moments, there were also stretches where he looked completely overwhelmed. That deer-in-the-headlights expression isn't going to cut it when playoff basketball rolls around. Yes, you can gain experience over the course of the season. Yes, you can grow into a role. But right now, the Warriors need someone with presence in the post. A veteran big who can handle pressure, secure boards, and kick the ball back out to shooters when the defense collapses. And honestly, that's why the idea of trading for someone like Nikola Vucevic is still floating around. He's the kind of big who fits this system. High IQ, solid passer, good touch around the rim. But then again, after watching Moses Moody's performance last night, I'm not so sure anymore. He played well, better than expected, showed confidence, consistency, and looked like a guy who belongs in the rotation. That complicates things, because if the only way to land Vucevic is to package Moody with Buddy Hield, maybe you start to hesitate. Maybe you think twice, because Moody off the bench could be a huge asset this season. So now the front office has a decision to make. Do they go all in now and bring in that last piece? Or do they let things play out, keep evaluating the roster, and wait until the trade deadline to make a move? Either way, they're going to have to find another big somehow. Whether it's a free agent, a training camp cut, or a quiet mid-season trade. That size problem isn't going away by itself. And the sooner they address it, the better chance they have at keeping up with teams like the Nuggets, the Lakers, and even Oklahoma City come playoff time. Now, speaking of Oklahoma City, let's just take a quick look around the conference to understand the landscape the Warriors are stepping into this season. Last year, there was a lot of parity in the league. Nobody truly dominated from start to finish. Only 1 or 2 teams even reached the 60-win mark, and even those teams didn't look like unstoppable juggernauts. The Thunder, for example, had a great run, but they were pushed to 7 games by a Pacers squad that no one considered a serious contender. That tells you everything about the balance we're seeing right now. There's talent everywhere, but very few teams have proven they can translate that into consistent playoff-level dominance. That's the window the Warriors are trying to jump through. And honestly, that's where their experience becomes their greatest weapon. No other team in the West has the combination of championship pedigree, playoff scars, and leadership that Golden State brings to the table. When Steph, Draymond and Jimmy are locked in, they are as dangerous as any trio in the league. But they can't carry the entire load. That's where the role players, the young guns, and the guys try to carve out their place become so crucial. And that's why this preseason feels more important than usual. These games aren't just tune-ups, they're additions. One of the biggest takeaways from that first game was that the Warriors aren't just trying to win with talent. They're trying to win with culture. That edge, that chip on the shoulder, it's back. Last year, you could feel the team was a little worn out. The highs weren't quite as high, and the lows came way too often. But now it feels different. There's a hunger again. You see in the way they run the floor, in how quickly they rotate on defense, in how unselfishly they move the ball. This is a team that looks like it has something to prove, and when that's the mindset, dangerous things can happen. But culture only takes you so far if you're consistently getting bullied in the paint. That lack of size could become a real problem against teams that feast on second-chance points and control the boards. And it's not just about protecting the rim. It's also about how you dictate pace. When you can't secure rebounds, you can't run. And if you can't run, you can't use that veteran savvy to your advantage. You're always reacting instead of initiating. That's not the identity the Warriors want. They want to be the ones dictating tempo, forcing mismatches, and stretching teams out with pace and space. That all starts with securing possessions. So if they're serious about contending, and let's be clear, they absolutely are, then that extra big is non-negotiable. You can't keep putting that burden on Horford every night, no matter how smart and skilled he is. The guy's nearly 40, and he's already giving you more than expected. Post is intriguing, but he's not ready to be a nightly contributor. They need someone who can play 20 to 25 solid minutes against elite bigs, who won't get lost in the pick and roll, and who can at least make teams think twice about attacking the rim. Now, you might be thinking, why not just develop someone internally? Why not trust the guys they already have and give them time to grow? And in theory, that sounds great. But the problem is time. The core of this team doesn't have time. Steph, Draymond, Jimmy, these guys are still elite, but they're not in year 6 or 7 anymore. Every season counts. Every window is a little smaller. You don't want to waste a prime year of Steph Curry because you were waiting on a backup center to figure things out. That's why front offices make those bold moves. That's why trades happen. Because the best teams don't wait, they act. The other reason to act quickly is chemistry. If you're going to make a move for a big, you want to do it before the season really starts rolling. You want that player to have time to integrate, learn the system, and build that on-court chemistry that makes the Warriors so unique. Their style of play isn't plug-and-play. It takes understanding. It takes reps. You've got to know when to cut, when to pass, when to rotate. That doesn't happen overnight. So, if they're going to pull the trigger, the sooner the better. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. Shockwaves are reportedly shaking the NBA world as whispers swirl around Golden State. Sources suggest that Steve Kerr, the architect behind multiple Warriors championships, may have been dismissed from his coaching role. The news, still unconfirmed officially, has ignited a frenzy of speculation among fans and analysts alike. Kerr, known for his sharp strategic mind and calm demeanor, has been synonymous with Golden State's rise to dominance over the past decade. Yet, insiders claim that tensions behind the scenes have been mounting, hinting at a fracture between the coaching staff and front office. Some speculate that disagreements over player rotations, defensive schemes, and the handling of emerging stars might have reached a boiling point. Others point to the team's recent performance inconsistencies as a possible catalyst. While Kerr has long been praised for his ability to manage superstar egos and foster team chemistry, murmurs suggest that patience may have worn thin among management. The Warriors, despite their glittering trophy cabinet, are reportedly facing pressure to reinvent themselves and regain the competitive edge that made them a dynasty. Rumors are now running wild across social media, with fans proposing a slew of potential replacements, ranging from seasoned NBA coaches to surprising dark horse candidates from the college ranks. The prospect of Kerr leaving, or being pushed out, has sent shockwaves through the locker room, according to sources, as players reportedly grapple with the uncertainty of leadership and what it might mean for their roles in the coming seasons. Even as the organization remains tight-lipped, the chatter is undeniable. Could this be the end of an era in San Francisco? Or is it merely a power play behind closed doors? Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. The NBA community is holding its collective breath, waiting for clarity on the future of one of the league's most celebrated coaching figures. The Golden State Warriors, a team built on precision, chemistry, and the vision of Steve Kerr, may be standing on the precipice of a dramatic shift. And while no official statement has been made, the rumor mill is spinning faster than ever, leaving fans, pundits, and players alike questioning the next chapter in this storied franchise. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.